Tuesday, friends. Hope you guys are doing well today. I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about why Christians should study philosophy. Why Christians should study logic, critical thinking. So I grew up in a church. I was very skeptical of those things, very skeptical of science, very skeptical of critical thinking. Philosophy, of course, was just something that atheists did. And so I didn't have a high view of those things. I thought things like science would lead to atheism, or philosophy, of course, that was something that only atheists did. And that's because I didn't really have good representatives, not only around me, but even people that I, would have known. I think in my era growing up, the popular person would have been someone like Jimmy Swaggart. Not a intellectual powerhouse, should we say. It wasn't until really when I got more serious about my faith in my 20s that I really even know about apologetics. But moving to Charlotte, North Carolina, eventually heard of Southern Evangelical Seminary, where I started to go and attend and met my mentor, Dr. Norm Geisler, who was a philosopher, and really taught us that it is good to examine your beliefs. It is good to examine your views to see whether or not they're true. A lot of people hold beliefs because they're just inherited. There's something that they grew up with, right? That's not a good reason to hold a view. It can be very hard and it can be very uncomfortable, right? To dissect your own beliefs and to put your own beliefs on the table and take them apart and see, are these justified beliefs? For example, I was a missionary for years at a university in the South, and we would always get students that were local, and they would come, and they were, nominally Christian. They were brought up in a Christian home. And when they were pressed, how do you know God exists? How do you know that it's the Christian God that exists? How do you know Jesus rose from the dead? How do you know these things? Vast majority of the time, the answer that would be given back would be because either I have faith or that's what I was brought up to believe. When you look at those views, right? When you look at those reasons, are they good reasons to believe something? Because you were brought up a certain way to believe it, and because you have faith. Well, let's look at the first one. Is it good to believe something because you were brought up to believe it? Well, the question may be, are your parents ever wrong? Are they fallible? Can they make mistakes? And if they have an error in reasoning on something and pass that on to you, then do you now have an error in reasoning, right? Many things that our parents teach us are not wrong. Many things that they teach us are right. Right? But not everything that they believe is right. Even if you grow up in a Christian home and your parents believe that God exists, you shouldn't believe that just because they believe that. Maybe they have bad reasons for believing it. Maybe they believe in Christianity because it makes them feel better, or maybe it's because that's what they were brought up to believe, right? So what I'm saying is we should examine our beliefs, right? First, because if you are a Christian, you're commanded to share the gospel. You're commanded to go out and talk and engage with people. We live in a culture today that they're going to ask questions, and they should. How do you know God exists? I can't see him. I can't touch him. I can't smell him. How do you know? How do you know the Bible's true? All these different holy books, they're all wrong and yours is right? All right. What about issues like abortion? Why do you believe what you believe about abortion? Do you believe that it's wrong to have an abortion? If so, are you not taking the rights away from women? Are you not putting your oppressive views on women? This is what I would see over and over. Kids that come to college that don't have a real grounding, they just have their parents' faith, completely crumble under those kind of questions because they don't have good answers. And for the first time in their life, they're being exposed to other worldviews, and they don't know how to answer them. They don't know how to answer Judith Jarvis Thompson's violinist argument, right? Like, that freaking blows their mind, you know? They start learning critical, from critical scholars about the Bible. And they're going from being in a church where the Bible is looked at as the Word of God and revered to the Bible is a book full of contradictions that is sexist, homophobic, racist, etc. And they don't know what to do with that. And they don't know where to start. So what do? Reach out to their pastor. You reach out to their pastor and they say, I've heard some things that have disturbed me this semester. I've heard arguments for evil in the philosophy of religion class, and it seems like it disproves theism. It seems like the problem of evil and God's existence are incompatible. I don't know what to do with that. Why didn't you tell me there were problems in the Bible? Why didn't you tell me there were contradictions in the Bible? How can the Bible be true if it's full of contradictions? How can God exist if science has pretty much explained everything that we see away? How can you say homosexuality is wrong if God created people that way? Right? These are what they're asking their pastor. You know what the pastor says 9 out of 10 times? And I can tell you because I had it happen to me. And I saw it happen to our students. The pastors would often say, you just have to have faith. You just have to believe. You just have to have faith. And the student walks away from their faith because they know in their heart of hearts they're not seeing real answers. They don't believe that there's good reasons to think God exists. They don't think there's good reasons to believe that the Bible's true because they go to their pastor, and the pastor has no training and no clue how to deal with those answers. This is why philosophy for Christians is important. This is why Christians need to be in the field of philosophy and critical thinking and logic, so they can analyze arguments, respond to arguments, and learn how to think critically. God bless. Feel free to comment, subscribe.